Joining me tonight, retired Air Force Special Operations Commander Glenn Ignazio, Chad Wolf, former acting Secretary of Homeland Security. Gentlemen, good to see you as well. Look, Chad, is there any reason to look at the cartels as something other than a foreign army or a de facto army like we looked at the Taliban in Afghanistan?
Well, I think there is. And I think there's ample reasons to really start looking at them in a different light. As you indicated, the death toll, the misery that they impose on Americans every single day, I think it deserves some extra attention. And we've admired this problem, frankly, for too long, for decades. We've tried to treat this as a law enforcement issue, and we've approached it that way, and we just haven't had the success that we need to have. So we need to start thinking out of the box, and we need to start looking at other options. As I've indicated, all options should be on the table. We shouldn't take certain options off that table. And if that means using military force, if that means doing a variety of things that maybe some Americans are uncomfortable with, I think it's prudent to actually start exploring those ideas. And everything here, Leland, that we're talking about is designed to put leverage on the Mexican government, to have them do more. They are a compromised actor here, but they need to be leveraged to a point to where they're uncomfortable in doing things that they otherwise would not do.
Right. And look, the argument always goes the Mexican government is a sovereign country. They get to do what they want. They've got a say in this. I know during the Trump administration, they certainly did more. But you think, Glenn, about the Sinaloa cartel, 20,000 soldiers, earns $3 billion annually. The Gulf cartel, 10,000 soldiers. Cartel Jalisco, new generation, 6,000 soldiers, on and on and on. Far better armed, far better equipped, far better trained, far better motivated than the Mexican military. How heavy of a workout is this, or how heavy of a lift, I should say, in military terms, to go in, whether the Mexicans agree to it or not, and start taking out the kingpins, sabotage operations of their grow houses and their manufacturing operations of fentanyl, and make them start worrying about their own lives in the way that ISIS terrorists did and Al-Qaeda terrorists do as well?
Yeah, I mean, the best way we could do it is to work by, with, and through the Mexican government. You know, that'd be something to train the Mexican military. But as you said, the corruption at the highest level is the most difficult, and that would really wipe that out. But if you label them a terrorist organization, that means anybody that supports them in any way is supporting terrorist activities. That means naval blockades that stops the fentanyl precursors coming in from China. And that opens up a whole game of direct action that would be very surgical from probably special operations and JSOC, or Joint Special Operations Command. That would be high value targeting, surgical strikes to take out the people that are at the top.
I feel like Predator drones and some of the video of the Ninja missiles are coming. We have some of it from how they took on the operations in Syria and Afghanistan. Chad, describe to us how, you think of the way ISIS, say, controlled parts of Syria. They were the de facto government. Are we right to look at the cartels as the de facto government in parts of northern Mexico?
I think that is right. They are certainly control ungoverned spaces right there in northern Mexico, miles away from our border. And we just don't see that normally. It usually occurs in Afghanistan and elsewhere. But that's what we have along that border. They are better equipped, better armed. They have more power and more territory today than they have ever had. And that's a concern from Americans. And when we talk about the fentanyl crisis and we talk about 100,000 American deaths, that is a clear and present danger to the United States that we need to take seriously. And again, continue to admire this problem and just kind of throwing our hands up and saying, well, it's the way it's always been. I don't think that that's what Americans want out of their federal government. So we need to have some options. You can look at cyber operations. You can look at cyber warfare. We've really got to get creative here and start disrupting their operations. These are multinational organizations, businesses that run that way, and we got to get creative about really taking them out.
Yeah, no, look, we've been saying that you do the same thing, you're going to get the same result, which is what we've been doing. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.